updates on the Activision Blizzard thing. Big shocker, the EU regulator still doesn't like it. Except now they're saying very publicly that they don't like it. And I have to say that their response to this makes me believe that this is definitely the most petty bullshit in regulation history, because they have no real great reasons, no evidence to support any of it really at all. Every phase that they've gone through has not surfaced anything that would support any of their claims. And then these are the solutions that they came up with for Microsoft, for them to feel comfortable or feel better about this deal going through. Step one of the options: sell the part of the business that deals with Call of Duty. So they'll allow this to go through. So clearly, the crux of this is Call of Duty. It's the only thing they're worried about. Apparently, Activision Blizzard has nothing else viable that they are concerned about at all. It's just Call of Duty. So sell off the part of the business that deals with Call of Duty, keep the rest, then they'll be okay. Part two, as an option: sell off Activision as a whole. Just keep Blizzard. But my favorite option, and one that I don't even understand because I'm too stupid when I read this out loud, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it will make sense to you, Mr. Black. To have the EU regulator be okay with the Activision Blizzard acquisition. They would like them to sell off both the Activision and the Blizzard segments.
Oh, they'll have nothing? Like, just
I don't understand that sentence. I'm just going to be honest.
Okay. I don't get it either. Unless there's like another overlord company that like...
they're just keeping Bobby Kotick. Everything else goes, and they're just buying Bobby Kotick specifically. I have no idea. But this is some petty bullshit, really. Now, the regulator says, because the last couple of weeks, we mentioned that Microsoft has committed to a minimum of 10 years of Call of Duty on all of the rival platforms, because for one, clearly, it still benefits them. There's a ton of other consoles. Call of Duty is played by a fucking bucket load of people, not just on the PC and Xbox ecosystem, and they know they're not going to suddenly convert every Call of Duty player to Xbox or PC just because they put it exclusively on the Xbox and PC. And so why wouldn't they spend the next 10 years, still farming all of the extra benefits of having that? So they made that freely available, sent that over to the regulator. They're aware of that. However, they said that in regard to that as an option or a solution, is that they will consider it, but would prefer a structural solution. I'm assuming structural meaning one of the three options they've just listed, as it would require less ongoing work to enforce the deal, given, and this is me now just saying this, I'm assuming because of how contracts can have loopholes and whatnot. So Microsoft could sign all these 10-year whatever the fucks, and we're going to commit to this, and then like 5 years deep, they've got some sort of weird fucking clause in there somewhere that, they ninja'd in and pull some lawyer speak, and all of a sudden they're no longer putting Call of Duty on platforms, which is the only reason why, this regulator wanted it or allowed it to go through. So
100%. This is all, dude, this is all corrupt. This is all, there's so much lobbying going on. There are people that are being paid large amounts of money to try and stop, halt, slow down this acquisition. It's not going to work in the long term, but they will slow shit down. And the reason is people, they are afraid because, and they've come out and said it, sell off the business that deals with COD. This is a Call of Duty issue. And the other side is going, I don't want them to own Call of Duty because then there's a chance that we won't be able to have Call of Duty anymore. And it's the thing that is selling our consoles. So we're fucked. So there are a ton of lobbyist shit that's going on behind the scenes to try and stop this madness, or they're going to try and work out some kind of deal and some kind of clause so that when this does eventually happen, that they can't just pull the rug from under them. And like you said, in 5 years or whatever, and say, hey, haha, gotcha, you're fucked. That's what this is all about, dude. 100%.
Bro, Jim Ryan, so the head of PlayStation, went over and had one of the people at the regulators out for lunch.
Of course.
One day. That's probably fine. There's probably no conflict of interest there.
Oh, nothing at all. There's nothing shady happening at all. Yeah, no. Yeah. So,
like, I just want to reiterate, I actually, whether or not this goes through, does not fucking bother me in the fucking slightest. I just, watching this from the outside and seeing how it's happened, like, of all of the mergers and acquisitions that we've seen globally, like all the bullshit that the U.S. has all the time and whatnot, this just strikes me funny as the one that's getting all of this fucking, like,
makes
it's just
no sense.
It's hilarious.
It makes no sense. Yeah, I've seen way worse.
Coincidentally, Sony just posted their highest ever quarter for the PlayStation brand at $8.8 billion for the holiday quarter, which is up over 20% from the previous year. And I want you to keep in mind that Sony is still the industry leader in gaming. They are still top beyond Nintendo, beyond Microsoft, beyond, and now they're setting records over 20% year on year. And this regulator's like, yeah, but Call of Duty is just, it'll get you.
You watch, though, they lose Call of Duty, bro, and it's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt them so bad. Think about all the new Call of Duties that come out. Like, once the next Call of Duty comes out and they don't have it, people are going to be going to buy the other console. They're going to be playing it on PC. They're going to be like, they ain't going to want, and they know this. They know this. Like, they're not going to sink and die if they don't have COD, but it will most certainly start to even out the console wars.
And they don't want it to be even.
They don't want it to be even. They want it to be number one, right? So
it's true. That's true. And like, I get like conceptually how it might be frustrating as the market leader. Now, not to say that Sony doesn't also literally buy developers and shit and have. It's just not at the scale Microsoft does because they don't have the same amount of money. But it is clearly, it's got to be frustrating to watch Microsoft, with all the money they have, simply want to buy their way into a competitive spot instead of, what they would consider on their end working for it a little more than Microsoft has. And so I can understand, conceptually why Sony would be, pushing back against this. But the reality is that I'll be honest, I don't think, I'll say just, I'll be devil's advocate, but this is my actual opinion. I actually don't think Call of Duty matters in the grand scheme of this right now. The fact that Sony just pushed $8.8 billion in a quarter and it wasn't anywhere near the release of Call of Duty or any expansionary content or anything, and the games that would have sold all of those copies to push that number up, I doubt that the crossover of the people that bought Sony to play Call of Duty and those games that ran that $8.8 billion, I doubt that Venn diagram is particularly crossed over. I don't think the pool is shared all that much. I think Call of Duty is just a buzzword in the industry now. It does do numbers, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really hurts Sony that much. Like, what are they going to do? Instead of 20% year on year, they're going to do like 15, 12.
Yeah. Well, I think what it is, I think I don't necessarily, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, I think that it will do more damage long term.
Oh, sure.
I think they might go from 8.8 billion to, 8 billion to 7.5 billion, and then they might stagnate at 7 billion per quarter. I mean, like, oh my goodness.
Darn.
But it definitely does help the other side a great deal, especially when these new games come out. They're going to sell consoles, man. They're going to sell them like crazy.
It'll definitely help Microsoft more than it hurts Sony, is I think the way that I look at it, right?
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Everyone still thinks this is going to go through.
I do too.
I think it's still going to go through. It's just going to be, and then we get to wait and see what are the impacts. And if Microsoft does make good on this 10-year deal, we might not see the effects of the Call of Duty portion for a really long fucking time anyway. But at the end of the day, it will be a huge acquisition should it go through. And I want to see Microsoft actually make use of the IP, because like we talked about last week, they have a habit of buying shit and then just never using any of the fucking IP. So hopefully that isn't the case with this if it does go through.